image out on my grand caliber using the Labels 29, and I used the second largest size. I think that's a really nice cut. I really like that shape. So the next thing I want to do is just very gently ink around the edges, hence why I've got my craft mat out, and I've got this colour box ink called Moss Green, but you could of course use your markers and just dab onto the sponge as well if you prefer, but since I know this is a pretty good colour, I'm happy to just go ahead with this. So again, just starting off the page, and I'm just going to very lightly do these edges. I don't particularly to start with want a lot on, I may change my mind later. And then just using what's on the mat, and because we're going to mat this onto the black, I just thought having the green around the edge will just bring that colour in again. And I embossed this as well as cut it when I put it through my grand caliber, so that's why you've got this gorgeous embossed line. And then just a little bit more on these corners, I think, and around the edges, just to grab in that embossed line a little bit. Just nice and soft. Because we're just going over that embossing line, you just really highlight the embossing, which is nice. I think that looks really effective, and it just brings that green in again, and just it almost makes it look like there's going to be another mat, which is, you know, when you place it on the mat of the black, I think it will look like it's got another mat going on of green cardstock. So we're going to pop this to one side for a moment now, and we're going to work on our base card. So I'm going to be using a black cardstock for my base card, and I'm going to be doing A4 folded in half, which is A5, and then carefully using my score tool just score along that line. And then we can, what I do is I put it into the corner of my scoreboard and then fold it, because then you can make sure it's folded squarely. And then we're just going to use my bone folder and just fold that over to ensure it's a nice A4 size. So, sorry, A5 card. So that's my card base. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is cut my two pieces of black cardstock. So I've got my gorgeous flocked and this lovely pattern, and I want this on the bottom section, and I want about 3 inches of that, and then the rest of it to be this section. So the first thing is I've taken my card and I've measured across the width, and it is approximately 5 3/4 across. So I'm going to take this, cut these pieces to 5 3/4 less, about an eighth. Yeah, about an eighth. I'm going to take that down. So with both of them, we have to remember that they're a pattern, and so we need to remember that the 5 3/4 has to be across this way, because otherwise the pattern will be the wrong way round. If you don't have a pattern on your cardstock, then it doesn't really matter. So I'm just, well, I say 5 3/4, 5 3/4 less the eighth. So the length of our card, if we just put it against here, is 8 1/4. So we're going to do our flocked piece at 8 1/8. Now the other thing I want to do is think about where the pattern is, to make sure that we've got a nice bit of pattern showing. And this piece at the top's a little bit crumply, so we won't do that. But I'm looking at my design in my head, and this bit is going to be a bit blank, so I'm going to take a little bit off the top, because that top corner is the bit that's going to show in that corner more than the other side. So I'm just going to take a smidgen off so that there's a bit of patterning up there, which is great. And then we're going to make that 8 1/8, pop that down, and then cut like so. Now the reason that I'm doing this a full piece rather than cutting it slightly shorter, because I've got the other piece of card, is because I'm going to be putting ribbon round. It's almost impossible if you do this shorter and then you stick the other piece down. It's really hard to put a piece of ribbon around, so I just think it's a lot simpler. And I'm just going to double check before I cut my other piece to match that this is going to fit, and that's going to be, let's just hold it down. That's going to be great. Yep. And what I might do is just ink around these edges because they get a bit white where you cut them, but we'll do that in a minute. And then this piece, which is just about perfect. Yep, it fits perfectly. So I'm not going to cut that top piece because I messed that up a bit. So we'll just cut that piece off a little bit so that it doesn't have that nasty edge. And then we're going to cut it, I would say, to about 3.5 inches. It's only roughly because it's just to go at the bottom underneath rather. So I want to just, I might cut it at 3.5 inches, just to give myself enough there. And I've still got plenty should I need it anyway. So that's going to go like so, and then we can put our ribbon across there once we've glued that down. Okay, so I'm just going to get my ink and very gently just ink along those edges. Where we cut it, just because it was a little bit white. There we go. So we're just taking that white edge off. If you look on here, I don't know if you can see it against the background so much now because of the white background, but it definitely looked quite white, and it looked like there was a fault. So I think that's worth doing. Okay, we'll just let that dry. The other one doesn't really need doing. I'm not particularly going for the inked edges look. It's not something I do very much. So we'll put that there. Actually, no, we need those. So then we're going to stick this piece onto here. Now, because this is flocked, we're going to need to use the glue gel or something along those lines because it's not going to stick otherwise. Now, we're not going for height or anything, so we're just literally going for it to stick down on the flock. So just taking the glue gel, making sure that there's just a thin layer. Okay, so just popping that down, making sure it's all lined up. And I'm going to be pushing downwards rather than upwards because I don't really want it to squelch out onto the flocking, because that would be quite hard to get that off. And I'm just making sure it's nicely covered. I'm just curling this round because it wanted to bend the other way for some reason. There we go. Okay, so we need that to set, but actually I think what we'll do while that's setting, I think we've got, is we'll put that to one side, and while that's setting we're going to start making our mats, because we need a mat for this young lady, and I want to mat her in black, and I'm going to use the same black cardstock that I used for my base card. this should do the trick. And that actually is a perfect size, which is jolly handy. And I'm going to cut it square, and I'm just going to use a corner chomper on the corners so that we get the black showing through. So I think what we'll do is just mark where we need to cut her. Like so, and then we'll pop it in my trimmer. And that's the beauty of this trimmer with this ruler. You know it's that edge and that the mark in the middle there. It's going to be the one I need. It makes it a lot easier. Okay, and then I'm turn that over so the mark isn't going to be showing, and that's just perfect. Okay, so I've got my corner chomper, and I'm going to use it on the 1/4 inch because we can always take it up to the 1/2 inch. But I think the 1/4 inch is what we need because they're quite sharp corners on that die. Now you could take it, if you wanted like a wider mat, you could take the next die up, but it would give you a good 1/4 inch, if not a bit more, around the edge. And for me, that was a bit more than I wanted. But there we go. You can see that 1/4 inch corner chomp there is just perfect for that. So let's get our little girl, and I'm just going to use our tape pen and stick her down. Oh, and that's just run out. I'll get another one in a minute. Okay. And that looks good. There we go. So that's her stuck down on her mat, and now you can see the green, I think, looks really effective. Just bringing that in, it almost looks like there's another mat on there. So let's pop that down to one side as well, and then we need to make our next mat. And for that one, I want to do a similar size. I want to do this size, but just a little bit bigger. So this one is nearly 5 inches, so I think I'll do it 5 inches tall, so it's about nearly a 1/4 inch more. And then she's 4.5, or just a little bit more than 4.5. So if I added it 3.5, she's not quite 3.5. She's nearly 3.5. She's 1/8 off 3.5. So if I made her 3 3/4 by 5, that is approximately the same amount of increase on each part. Now that's the maximum one, so that's going to be my black mat, because I'm going to be doing a green mat. So that's not going to quite make it, unfortunately. So I've got another piece. So we're going to do 5 inches by 3 3/4. So let's do my 5 inch 3 3/4 across here. I think would be most economical. Pop that in and cut that. And then I'm going to cut that by what did I say, 5. And then let's just see. As you can see, it's pretty much the same. It's hard for you to see. It's very similar gap on all 3 sides. So I wanted it just a little bit bigger proportionately on all 3 sides. Just because that was a little bit smaller than the one I had done originally that I talked to you about, that I'm doing some sort of copying the design idea, and I think it just needed that slight bigger size. So then I'm going to go, so this was how I was 5, but I 3 3/4, so I'm going to take that to 1/8 off both of those sizes on my coloured paper here, because we just, or maybe I'll make it, do I want to make it 1/8 or 1/4? I think I'll go for 1/4. So I'm going to do 5 3/4, and again I've got to remember the direction, so let's think The 5 is the height. Actually, looking at this is a square pattern, so it's okay. So I'm going to go 4 3/4. What do I want to do? Oh dear. I'm going to do 4 1/8. I can always, I'm going to take 1/8 off 5 inches. I can always do it again, but I can't add it. So I'm going to do a thin black line. That will I think it might need to be bigger, but we'll see. And then 3 and I've forgotten what this one was now. Wrong one. 3 3/4. So I want to take it to 1/8 of 3 3/4. Which side do I like better? And also got to look at where it's landing from the point of view of the pattern. So I want to do that a little bit more through the middle of that pattern, and then I can take a little bit more off the other side. And I'm going to go back and we'll make it the right side now. So there's 3 3/4. So there it is there. And that's not bad, but not brilliant. But I don't think it will matter because it's going to be covered, so I don't think it's as important as all that actually, because I'm going to cover a lot of it. So that's going to fit really nicely. I like that. So now I just want to chomp the corners. So just taking my corner chomper, and as I say, on this occasion I'm not going to worry that the pattern's off because it's not going to matter, because some of it's going to be covered by our lady there because of the way that I'm doing it. And we're doing the 1/4 inch corners, and the same on the black. And I got a nice new one out because that other one ran out. It always sounds so much better when they're new. Just making sure the edges are done. I can't stand it when they're not stuck down. Okay, and then sticking this on here, making sure it's nice and even around all sides. There we go. So that's that done. So we're going to put that to one side now as well. Okay, so we've got our green satin ribbon, and this was just a piece of scrap that I had coincidentally, which was lucky. So that's going to go across that line, and that's going to hide that line. We're not creating a bow, so that's just going to go like that. So we'll pop this down first of all. So actually all we need to do is just work out where it is roughly on the back, and then put some glue on the back here, and then we can put our ribbon on. It's a bit long, so we'll take a little bit off. Pop that around. And stick that in place. So that hides that line nicely. But I mean, I could leave it like that and it looks great, but I think in view of the image that we've got, that she's quite kind of gothic-y and, you know, a bit of like sort of fun, I thought a bit of lace trim, and this is like cotton lace, it's really nice, so I thought that would look really effective over the top of our green, and the green just pops through and it kind of looks like, you know, stockings almost. It's just really effective, I think. So again, putting a little bit more adhesive on the back here to take our trim. Just put a little bit under there to hold that down. And then we're just going to hold that, make sure it's in place. I think that might be better the other way up. That's better. making sure it's central and we're not pulling it, and then just gently sticking it down on the back here so it stays in place. Now you can do that with a bit of tape or just like this with the glued pen. Obviously be careful that it doesn't now stick to your table. Okay, so now our ribbon is done. We are in a position to add this piece to our actual card base. So, but actually before we do that, thinking about it, I think it would be simpler at this point to add our insert in before we start doing all our decorating. Now I've got this great piece of green paper which is really vibrant. I'm just going to fold it in half like so, and I'm going to take a little bit off the top and a little bit off the bottom so we can use that as an insert in our card. There we go. Now when I put inserts in, and we'll put some sort of sentiment on here as well at some point, but when I put inserts in like this, I always put the adhesive on the leading edge so that as the card opens, the card itself pulls the insert open. If you put it on the other side, you find that the card, the insert stays closed and then they have to open it, and it just doesn't look as nice in my opinion. And I'll show you what I mean. When you put it in, you can pretend it's opening the other way. Okay, so I've used double-sided tape here because it's just a little bit stronger than my tape pens. So just lining it up so that it's in position nicely and evenly both sides, just folding it closed and smoothing it out. So when we open it now from the right way, as we open it, the insert is pulled open. If it was this way up and we'd glued it on the back, this is what would happen. It would stay closed, which then they have to open. So I think this is a much nicer that it pulls open as you open the card. Okay, so now I need to put this on the front of our card. So I'm going to use my glue gel because we've got our ribbon on there, and also it just gives us a little bit of manoeuvrability as well. To the edges, but close enough that when you do squish, it squishes to the edges but not out, hopefully. And then making sure that the card's the right way around. Now you've put the insert in, it's more important. And then making sure it's the right way up as well. Just popping this down in place and then just giving it a gentle squish. And just gently, you can feel the little bumps of glue gel, so just gently moving them so that it smooths them out, and you know it's kind of gradually just going down, but not, you haven't got the height, but it's nice and even. Because I find what happens is otherwise you get like a little lump here at the side where the ribbon has gone in, and it just doesn't look as nice. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. So I think that looks really nice already. I love that bit there. So now what the next thing we want to do is put on our gorgeous young lady and our other mat. So what I'm intending on doing is putting that like so and that like so, so that it's at the angles like that, so we can still see that beautiful green, and you've got the green of the ribbon popping through, and we've got that like so. Yep, happy with that. And we've got the flowers showing, which is why I was worrying about that piece of the pattern. And it's, again, for me, I know it seems fussy, but I think it's those sort of details that make a difference. If we'd have used the piece as we originally saw it, that wouldn't have really shown any of the velvet. And now you look at the card, there's very little of the velvet showing compared. So now we need, again, our glue gel, and I'm just going to stick this first piece down. Now the first piece isn't going to be really any height to it. The second piece isn't really either, but it's going to have height in that one corner. But we need a little bit, again, we need some of the glue with some height there because of the ribbon. And with the other one, we need it because of the corner will be lower because of this, so it will need more height. Okay, so I'm going to make use of this to put this in the right place. So that's going to be about there, I think. About like that. And then that one's going to be like so, I reckon. Make sure I don't get it all over my fingers and then put it all over the picture. Okay, pretty happy with that. I don't want to put it much lower because it's working fine. And you know what I'm like, I fiddle and then all the glue squelches out. Okay, so on this one, as I said, we need to put a little bit more glue gel on this bit because she's going to stick more directly to that, and there's going to be a little bit of a gap here. So we need to make sure that this corner is the one with the thicker piece of glue gel, just so that she sits evenly. I really should be using my tool, it'll be a lot easier. Didn't want to do that. Okay, let's hope that we will be covering that bit up. Okay, yep, that'll be fine. So I'm going to pop her about there, I think. That'll be good, and then give it a bit of a squish so that it's in place. There we go. Looking good, I think. Right, now on the other one that I had a sentiment down in this corner, and I do still want to do that, but there's such a pattern here that I think it's going to be harder to do. Let's just lift that bit up a bit. So I need to think about that at the moment, but the next for the thing I want to do is I was going to put on my washi tape. Now the washi tape that I had in mind was this black and white, which was to be going over here. I'm not sure now whether the other colour, the green, might be better because of the black behind, but then you've got the green there. So I'm just going to get a piece of each and have a little look and see what I think looks better. What I have just found, and I didn't realise was in that Anna Griffin set, was this washi tape, which is the matching pattern to this. So that might look quite nice. But then I've got this, which is the green, which I'm thinking would look nice across there. So, okay, so we've got this green, which is quite fun. Or we've got the original black and white, if I can find the end. Oops. Luckily it is washi tape. And I like that. That's quite bold across there. I actually do quite like that. I'm not sure about the green because I think it's just adding more green than I want. So I think at the moment the green's a no. And then we've got this pattern that was my same image there, which I really like actually, because that's just so in keeping. Right, so that's the one I think. Let's just double check. Oh, but I don't know, is it nice to have something different? Because then that brings in the dress. Oh, I'm thinking that I'm actually really liking the original because it's just bold, it's bringing in the black and white of that dress. So yeah, let's just go with what we said. So let's just rip the end off. I think it's worth checking these things before you do it. So we've ripped the two ends off. I'm just going to pop it across the corner here like so. Don't want it quite up on that ribbon, so let's just change the angle a little bit. There we go. That's a little bit longer than I wanted, so again let's just rip that edge off. So I've tore a little piece off and then we'll just pop that across corner to corner like so. I like that. And then I want a little piece just up the top here, not too long, and just holding that in place up here. I think that'd be quite nice to have it. Oh, we don't want to cover my lovely rose after I've spent all that time getting it in place. There we go. Yeah, pleased with that. Okay, so it ends up I went with the original, but that's good. At least we checked it out and I know that I'm happy. Okay, so that's that bit done. Okay, so I've got this baker's twine, and it's a lovely black and white baker's twine. So we're going to use that on here. So I've got 2 strands of it, which, well, 1 strand I folded in half, but I'm just about to cut to make 2 strands. And we're going to take it and take our little peg and pin our little peg just on here, holding the baker's twine there. We'll trim that in due course, and then just straightening that to make sure that there's no twists, because we're going to put in a twist. We're going to turn that around. I'm trying to find where it naturally wants to twirl, so let's have a look. Does it want to go that way up? I think it wants to go that way up. Just a bit there. Let's turn it over in that case, because I want it to go the other way. Whoops. Okay, let's see if that makes a difference. That's it. Because it's got a natural way of the twirl, so it will naturally go in a particular way. So then we're going to just take that, make that a little bit smaller, not huge, and then I'm going to take our peg again, another one that I've greened up that I showed you before, and I'm just going to pop this in the corner. Like so. And then I'm just going to get a stick and a little blob of my glue gel, and I'm going to put it just under here to just be sure that my little twirl stays twirled. And just pop that in like so, making sure that that's on there. And then we can just tighten that a little if we need to. And then the other strand, which is this one, just needs tightening a little. There we go. And then I want to just make sure that there's a small amount of the glue gel just under this little one here, just to be sure that that one also stays stuck. There we go. So that's that. Now we're just going to trim those 2 edges so that they're nicely neat, but not so neat, but you know, they're not all completely horrible. Okay, so we're just going to take my scissors, trim that. Okay, I don't want that one. That one's shorter. There we go. And then this one here, trim that one there and that one there, and that just is loose, which is exactly perfect. So there we go. So there's just flopping about wherever they want to go, which is great. So that's our 2 pegs done. Okay, so I'm just fiddling about, and I got this gorgeous, I found this beautiful feather that I've got, and I love these with the dots on, and this one has got, it's black with the green dots, so we're doing that. And then we've got these lovely flowers. I've got some silk ones, some paper ones, etc. So really, really pretty. And I'm just working out exactly where I want what. Okay, so let's put this lot down. So I'm going to stick these down with my glue gel. And then let's move next from that. After we've done that, we can then move forward. Okay, so I'm going to use my glue gel and just a stick, and I'm going to stick these ones down first up here. So we're going to pop him in place first. And that one. And then that one. Like a little cluster. Like so. Like that. And then we're going to pop this down. So we're going to put our feather first. Whoops. And then when we come to put our pins in and things, we'll have the glue there. I'm just going to pop that feather down nicely into the glue gel there. And then it will be effective. Just trying to twist it so that it's okay, and then just on the back of our flower here, making sure there's plenty on there because we want it to stay put, like so. And then the back of our other flower here, I'm just going to pull this one up because I want this one to be slightly tucked under, like so. And then lastly our black flower, and then just popping that one. That needs a bit more. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so now before our glue gel dries, we're going to add pearl pins, 2, and they're going to look gorgeous. So we're just going to pop those in here, just holding onto my feather and then just sliding it in and then sliding the other one in. And I like to have one higher than the other, if you can just see, and that looks really cool. So that's all of that done at the moment. Now all we need to do now is put something here for our sentiment. Oh no, I'm lying. I've got one more thing I want to do before I do my sentiment. I want to put the black pearls in each of the corners, and I'm going to use my glue gel for that to make sure that they really stay put. And then taking our pearls, just placing those over that glue gel. Okay, so I've added 3 pearls down the bottom here instead of doing a sentiment here. Then I've put a sentiment stamp on here which says "Girly You Rock," which I think is nice for this, and I've just inked it up using a black archival, and I'm going to pop it here. Now this could be a horrible mistake and just be something I completely regret, but let's see. Okay, and then before it settles, and we're just going to lift that up where we pressed it down in the middle there, and then put our tape back. And I think that looks really good actually, I'm pleased with that. Okay, and then on the inside I'm just going to stamp "Hope Your Day is Fabulous" using the same set, and that's from Pt2 ink. So I think that looks really cool. Okay, so this is our finished card. All I've got to do is put that sentiment on the inside, but otherwise it's completely finished. So I hope you've enjoyed making this card with me. Let me just quickly show you the other card, and I will be posting this one in photographic form to show you. But as you can see, it's the same principle, but a completely different look. I think you'll agree it looks so different. And as I say, I'll post details of this. But anyway, going back to this one, I hope you've enjoyed making it. I hope you like it. I'd love to hear your comments, and I'll see you all again soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.